Welcome to Monday, April 27th. This week we're going to be talking about how to model percents. You guys are already pretty familiar with fractions and decimals, which is also a way to represent or model a percent. We're going to look at them in picture form and graphs using number lines. There's several different ways that we're going to model a percent. So today we're just going to ease into things. We have a warm up here before we start our warm up. A reminder that a percent is a number out of 100. To start your lesson off today, you're going to be listening to a song all about percents and give you a really nice idea of the different ways that we can model a percent. So let's look at the warm up. Claire, Ron, Mabel, and Larry they all took the same test. So here's how they did. Their results are concluded. Claire received a 75 out of 100 questions correct. Ron received an 8 out of 10 of the questions correct. Mabel received 80 hundredths of the questions correct. And Larry scored an 83% on the test. So if we were looking at all of these different representations to determine who did the best, well, the person that scored the best was Larry. And he received an 83%. If I were to look at all of these, two people received actually the same percentage, which was Mabel, who received an 80%, because 80 hundredths is 80 out of 100. And then Ron got an 8 out of 10. If I were to multiply 8 and 10 by 10, we would get 80 out of 100. He also got 80%. And then lastly, Claire received a 75 out of 100, or 75%. Who received the worst score on the assessment or on the test? Well, that would have been Claire, because she received a 75%, which was the lowest of the four scores. So let's look at this example here. Today, you guys are going to do a little task with the site Gizmo. Gizmo has all these different applications that you're going to launch and practice with certain steps. And this is one of those practice before we get there. So numbers can be represented as fractions, decimals, or a percent. Here in the red, the green, and the purple, the red is represented as a fraction, which is a number out of 100, because we're looking at between 0 and 1. Then in this picture, there are 100 little squares. The green is represented by a decimal. And again, there are 100 little squares there. So we're looking at the hundredths. And the third, the blue or the purple, is going to be our percentage, which is a number out of 100. So if I was looking at the fraction model in the red, there are 50 little squares out of 100 that are shaded in. There's also 50 out of 100 that are not shaded in. And if we were going to simplify this, I can actually divide each one by 10 to get 5/10. I can also simplify this again, because 5 out of 10 is the same as saying half. Half of the squares are colored in red. The decimal version in green is I've got 5 rows of 10. So I could say that I had 5/10. Or there are 50 hundredths represented. There are 50 little green squares colored in. And in the percent, a number out of 100, this would be 50 of the blue or purple squares out of 100 are colored in, or 50%. One of the things that you will see when you guys go to Gizmo is you will have 3 different sections, a red, a green, and I think this is purple. It says it's blue. It looks purple to me. Where you're going to represent what the red looks like. So if this is 1/10, because 1 out of 10 pieces are shaded, we'll also have the opportunity to hit the drop down and change it into hundredths. Same here. So 1/10 is the same as 0.1 or 1/10. And then this also represents 10 little pieces out of 100 or 10%. You'll get to play around with the number line. I chose to keep it as a decimal. And as you kind of play with it, you'll see your dots. If you click these little boxes here, you'll get to see the point move up and down the number line. What you're going to want to look for is to make sure that this is an equal sign here and here. Otherwise, it's going to give you the greater than or less than symbol if they don't match up. So mine are all equivalent because 1/10 is the same as 1/10 or 10% because it is 10 out of 100. Just like if I wanted to change this here to an equivalent fraction, it would also represent 10 out of 100 pieces. And I could rewrite this here as 0.10 or 10 hundredths to show how they are equivalent. And I've modeled my percents in fraction, decimal, and a percentage form. I've modeled it in my different picture forms, also with my number line. So in order to kickstart today, before you guys head over to Gizmo and get your Gizmo account set up, we're going to look at modeling percents with Skittles. So for Easter this year, Wesley and Sawyer received some different treats, and one of those was the individual Skittles bags. And they received, so I hijacked one of these for today's lesson. They were very upset. They kept asking to have them, and I kept saying, nope, they're for math. So out of the green bag, this is what we received. So let's just go ahead and start off by looking in fraction form, because I think that's going to be the easiest way for us to represent the Skittles right now. So if you go through and count, you'll find that there are 20 Skittles total. So because there are 20 Skittles total, that is going to be, we're looking at this in fraction form. The denominator is going to be my total number of Skittles. And then my numerator is going to be the color that we are representing. So the total number of Skittles represented here is actually going to be 20. So my denominator is going to be 20, and then our numerator will represent the different colors. So each of my fractions here will have a denominator of 20. So remember, we're wanting to represent these as fractions, decimals, and percents. And so if you think about it, if I have 20 as my denominator, and we know that a percent is a number out of 100, how did I go from 20 to 100? What did I multiply by to get there? So then, if we're looking at our Skittles, I can start off by the fact that I can count that there are, I'm going to skip because this one is a little bit harder because of my lighting when I took the pictures. But there are 2 yellow to start. So if I were to look at this and represent my yellow Skittles, if I have 2 out of 20, I have to think, okay, 20 can go into 100 how many times? And whatever I do with that, I have to do to the top. And that's going to give me my percentage. So I know that 20 times 5 is 100. So 2 times 5 is 10. So my yellow percentage is going to be 10%. So 10% of my Skittles in my green package for my Easter Skittles was 10%. So I've given you your yellow. Your job is going to be to come up with what is the red, orange, green, and purple percentages of Skittles, and you are going to go to Canvas and enter in your answers. Today for practice, you guys are going to be using Gizmo to do some practice with modeling. And I have already set up steps for you to how to set up your Gizmo account. And I'll walk you through that as well in our overview. I hope you have a great day today, and I'm available with any